Daily-oriented easy, multi-female Orphan Su Tong, who has been poor since childhood, unexpectedly started a consumer rebate system. As long as you spend money on beautiful women with a beauty score of 80 or above, you can get cash back. For a moment, various beautiful women surrounded me. Start in first gear, then shift to second gear, then move to third and fourth gear. Chapter 1. Standing on the brink of death in poverty with shock. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Dragon Country, Jiaqing City, Parallel World. In the dilapidated courtyard of the countryside. Su Tong lay on the creaking rocking chair, which was already wrapped in pulp. It is said that it was passed down from his grandfather to his father back then, and his father passed it on to him again. 5 years ago, the miscellaneous mobile phone was playing 7 cats listening to books. Due to poverty, he has no social connections with friends. Due to poverty, he didn't have a decent outfit. Because he was poor, he never talked about a girlfriend. Because he was poor, he lay there motionless today just to save energy. The day before yesterday, the school was on vacation and the cafeteria didn't cook. In desperation, Su Tong had to buy mantou to eat at home. At this moment, a voice rang out in my mind. Rebate system enabled. Congratulations to the host for activating the rebate system. Starting today, the host can receive double the consumption rebate for heterosexual consumers with an appearance score of 80 or above. The cashback funds are safe, and the host can use them with confidence. What? System. Su Tong is extremely clear. He often reads novels and knows what's going on with the system. But I really didn't expect the system to fall on me. System brother, is that you? Brother sure, Brother Tong, I am your beloved family and friend, brothers and sisters. The system says they don't want to talk to him. Su Tong saw that he had been calling for so long, and the system didn't pay attention to his intentions, so he thought it was because he was poor and crazy. The next moment, I saw a panel emerging in front of me. Host. Su Tong, Physical Fitness. 9, Normal Person 10, System Level. 1, Cashback Ratio. 1.2. Su Tong looked at the panel and vigorously pressed the power button on her phone with her fingers. Open Douyin and click on live streaming directly. In the picture, a live streamer with longer legs than Su Tong is showing off his edge dancing. Not waiting for Su Tong to take a second look. The system panel immediately popped up. This person doesn't match. Su Tong immediately switches to the next one. I switched several people in a row, without exception, the system showed that this person doesn't match. Wipe, the beauty function is harmful. Surprisingly, there isn't a single beautiful woman who has reached 90 points. Although Su Tong complained, his fingers continued to slide, carefully searching for the beautiful woman. It wasn't until the 27th anchor that he finally didn't match. This person is eligible. Su Tong stared at the girl for a long time. She was indeed beautiful and pure. My figure is also very good, with a protruding front and a curled back, and a beautiful face. But the business is not very proficient, and chatting with water friends in the live broadcast room is clearly a bit inexperienced. Wearing black and white knee socks on both legs, and stepping on white plush foot pads. Seeing Su Tong click in, she immediately spoke out to welcome him. Welcome the new handsome guy with bright eyes. If you like Xiao Qian, just give her some attention. If possible, just give Xiao Qian a light sign. Thank you, Brother Liang Tong. Su Tong was still a bit unsure and spoke up to inquire. Brother Tong, are you sure this really fits? The system is silent. Su Tong was a bit uncertain, so he switched to the next one. This person doesn't match. The system still issues these 4 words. Su Tong switched back again. This person is eligible. Having received a second verification, Su Tong felt as if he had taken a calming pill. Hands also began to click the recharge button. Looking at the remaining 103.72 yuan, Su Tong was somewhat uncertain and asked again. Brother Tong, you won't deceive me, will you? I only have over 100. The system is still silent. Su Tong's fingers suddenly froze there. 2 minutes later, he seemed to have made the decision to bomb Eagle Sauce with a nuclear bomb. Brother Tong, I believe you once. Don't let down my trust in you. Su Tong clicked on the tag for recharging 1 yuan. As a reminder of successful recharge appears. The Do coin has changed to 10. Su Tong frantically clicked on the small flowers, and 10 small flowers were sent out in an instant. Who? Su Tong nervously stared at the phone message. 2 seconds later, the bank card information immediately appeared on the phone. On April 17, 2024 at 15.29, your account ending in 8867 received a revenue of 0.8 yuan and had a balance of 103.52. Upon seeing this message, Su Tong, who was originally still delighted, immediately raised a question and said. Brother Tong, are you unethical? I swiped 1 yuan, but I have to give back 2 yuan anyway. Why did I give back 8 cents? A sentence immediately appeared on the system panel. The amount of funds received by the donor, multiplied by 2, is the host's cashback amount. Su Tong collapsed. Isn't this a proper way of playing tricks? I thought I could rely on the anchor to debug. The result is that the platform's commission is too high. The amount of money received by the anchor is really not much. No matter how sexy the anchor's figure is, it won't attract Su Tong. The miserable life was made worse by the loss of a mantu, 20 cents. Dragging away with a tired body, a frustrated mood, and an empty wallet, we headed to school for dinner. Just arrived at school. Ding dong. WeChat message reminder. Su Tong opened it and saw the message from the class group. Director. Lin Ruoshi. At all members, please inform everyone of some things temporarily. Please arrive at classroom F310 before 18.20. Class monitor. Su Changshun. Received. Youth League Secretary. Guoxian. Received. Director Lin Ruoshi stood on the podium wearing a white qipao. The high and erect collar reveals the slender neck, faintly visible. 2 rows of flower buckles, clasped together, for thousands of years at a glance. In the slit on both sides, a pair of fair legs couldn't move their eyes. Stepping on white slender high heels, the ankles are delicate and white. Su Tong just glanced at the guide and saw the system panel emerge. This person is eligible wipe. Reverse thrust. This is my most respected guide, I have to consider it. However, the system, you are really not picky. This system only looks at appearance. Su Tong pursed his lips, still a cute dog. Setting aside identity, let's not talk about it. Lin Ruoshi is a first-class beauty, both in terms of figure and face. Just as Lin Ruoshi saw everyone gathered, she cleared her throat and said. Everyone is here, so let me briefly explain. Lu Shuer didn't attend class recently because her mother was diagnosed with cancer and needed 200,000 yuan for surgery. Therefore, I hope everyone can contribute their love and raise a donation. As a guide, I will donate 1,000 yuan. The guide successfully took the lead. The class also responded one after another. As the class monitor, I donate 300. Who can avoid getting sick? If there are difficulties, as the Youth League Secretary, I will donate 100. Lu Shuer stood up in the corner, walked up to the podium, bowed deeply to the crowd, and said, "Thank you everyone for generously donating." The following students also comforted and said. They are all from the same class, why are you so polite? Just take care of yourself and come to us if you need it. Su Tong looked at Lu Shuer. She was a beautiful embryo, even though her family conditions were not good. No makeup on the face, but still able to hang and beat many girls in the class. Standing with Director Lin Ruoshi is not inferior. Perhaps the reason for my mental fatigue during this period is that my eyes are slightly red and my hair is tied up haphazardly. Su Tong knew it was an opportunity, but after observing the system silently for a while, he quietly asked. Does she fit the system? This person is eligible, you didn't say it earlier. It affects my efficiency in making money. Su Tong's nerves are rapidly active. Directly transfer the money to Lu Shuer. So can we get double the cash back? There was a person standing at the door, whose chubby figure almost filled the door frame. Everyone doesn't need to donate anymore, 200,000 yuan, I'll give it. Chapter 2. Suoha. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Zhang Zhenghu, from Jiaqing City, is the second son of Zhang Liangkai, a member of the Zhang family group. Relying on having a relatively wealthy family. Habitually doing things that bully men and women. Zhang Zhenghu's tone was full of unquestionable words, but his eyes scanned the bodies of the guides Lin Ruoxi and Lu Shuer. And he also leaned against the door frame, posing in a self-proclaimed handsome posture. Lin Ruoxi covered up the disgust in her eyes and didn't look at him. She said coldly. Your heart is your heart, what we donate is our heart. Zhang Zhenghu's mouth was full of ridicule, and his eyes were fixed on Lu Shuer, as if he had seen her through. He said. Okay, since everyone wants to float the money, let's just pretend I didn't agree. Lu Shuer's face was ugly, she clenched her fists and lowered her head. Shame, this is humiliating oneself. I want to take care of myself with 200,000 yuan. Still in front of the whole class. Tears swirled in the eyes. Lu Shuer looked up and pretended to be calm, saying to Lin Ruoxi. Director, I have something else to attend to at the hospital. I'll leave first. The reason for Lu Shuer's appearance as a guide is naturally clear. However, regarding this matter, Zhang Zhenghu did not directly say that he was taking care of Lu Shuer, and she could not say anything directly. Helpless, she could only wave her hand to let Lu Shuer leave. Lu Shuer looked straight at her classmates, bowed again to express her gratitude, and quickly left the classroom. Do you want to view target information? The system surprisingly took the initiative to speak up. The system panel immediately appeared in front of Su Tong, with two avatars. Lu Shuer and Lin Ruoxi. Su Tong opened Lu Shuer's panel. Name. Lu Shuer, age. 21, height. 167, weight. 48, appearance. 90, == 100, == represents experience, with a maximum score of 100. The unit is the number of people, and 1 point will be deducted for each experience. Status. Healthy, intimacy. 12, both of them are in the same class and their families are relatively poor. A perfect score of 100, 0 indicates not knowing, negative indicates disgust. For Lu Shuer, Su Tong is only considered a classmate from the same family, and the two of them do not have much intersection. Su Tong was not surprised by this intimacy, and then clicked on the panel of Director Lin Ruoxi. Name. Lin Ruoxi, age. 25, height. 169, weight. 52, appearance. 89, == 99, status. Normal, intimacy. 7, I only know that Su Tong is a student in the class and the family conditions are not good. After taking a glance, I closed the system panel. After Lu Shuer left, the guide simply said a few words and left. Su Tong walked slowly towards the cafeteria, thinking about something in his mind. Within the hospital. Lu Shuer squatted outside the ward, burying her head between her legs. What is displayed on the phone is a chat interface. Her eyes were filled with despair. Zhang Zhenghu. Go to the Gru Hotel tonight to find me. I'm out for 200,000 yuan, and I'll only give you 1 night to consider. Lu Shuer wants to refuse. She deeply knows what kind of person Zhang Zhenghu is. Once agreed, facing her would be a lifelong nightmare. However, Lu Shuer looked at her mother who had fallen asleep in the ward. Grasping the phone tightly, deeply contemplating this matter. Ding! It was the donation money transferred by classmates one after another. The amount is not large, it's just a few tens or even a few yuan. Some wealthy students also donate a few hundred yuan. But ultimately it is a minority. After all, college students only have a small monthly allowance. Even if all of these are added up, it's still a drop in the bucket, and the distance of 200,000 is not even a drop in the bucket. In the school cafeteria, Su Tong looked at the balance of her mobile banking card and became very determined. Suoha. Ding dong. Received via WeChat, 103.52 yuan. Lu Shuer looked at her phone and saw that it was the money transferred by Su Tong, with both small and whole amounts. Lu Shuer intimacy plus 10, her heart is full of mixed flavors. Su Tong's family conditions are very difficult. I have been living on subsistence allowances and doing odd jobs for others since elementary school. This 103.52 yuan is probably all his money. Lu Shuer wanted to refund the money when she saw a message from Su Tong. This is my intention to help you. I still have money to eat, so don't worry. Lu Shuer's eyes gradually began to fog as she looked at these words. Fingers tightly covered their mouths, not wanting to cry. Trembling with all his strength, he typed 5 words on the phone screen. Thank you, Su Tong. But she still needs to consider Zhang Zhenghu's words. After all, being moved can't cure mom. At this moment, Su Tong jumped up from the rocking chair with joy. The bank card has been double credited. On April 17, 2024 at 17.24, your account ending in 8867 received a total income of 207.04 yuan, with a balance of 207.04 yuan. Similarly, another prompt appeared on the system panel. Lu Shuer intimacy plus 10 Suoha is a kind of wisdom. Su Tong was very decisive and clicked the transfer button again without hesitation. The second time. On April 17, 2024 at 17.28, your account ending in 8867 received a total income of 414.08 yuan with a balance of 414.08. Once again, Suoha. On April 17, 2024 at 17.30, your account ending in 8867 received a total income of 828.16 yuan, with a balance of 826.16 yuan. Lu Shuer intimacy plus 5, the meaning of life lies in being with Suoha. After 11 rounds of practice, Su Tong's bank balance reached an unprecedented level. On April 17, 2024 at 17.38, your account ending in 8867 received a total income of 212,008.96 yuan, with a balance of 212,008.96 yuan. Su Tong couldn't help but bend his lips. How could he say that the speed of brushing money is not fast? Su Tong straightened his waist and walked towards the cafeteria serving window. Boss, I'd like sweet and sour sirloin, soy sauce flavored ribs, iron plate tofu, 2 steamed rolls, and a congee with shredded pork and vegetables. While Su Tong was filling a plate full of vegetables and feasting on them, Lu Shuer in the hospital, holding a mobile phone in her hand. Shocked, he opened his mouth wide. How could this be possible? How could he be so rich? After several confirmations, it was found that there was indeed no mistake. It was Su Tong's WeChat account, and I did not make any remarks. Looking at the 11 consecutive transfers, no more, no less, just stuck at just over 200,000. Every transfer has zero and whole. Chapter 3. Born under the red flag, growing in the sunshine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Shuer looked at the transfer and stayed at the typing interface, deleting and typing and deleting. She couldn't make up her mind either. Su Tong gave herself 200,000 yuan for no reason. What does this mean? Is it like Zhang Zhenghu? Lu Shuer can't make up her mind anymore, she's ready to take the initiative to ask. If you want to help yourself, then I will definitely return it to him in the future. If, like Zhang Zhenghu, she wants to be his girlfriend herself, she will not hesitate to return the money. Ding dong. Lu Shuer. Thank you, I will repay your money bit by bit. Su Tong, who was eating, saw this message and quickly typed a few words with his fingers. Su Tong. You're welcome, feel free to use it. You don't need to pay it back. Then he put his phone there and continued to pull the sweet and sour pork tenderloin in his mouth. Upon seeing these words, Lu Shuer's heart trembled and her spine couldn't help but straighten. Tears rolled steadily in her eyes. Quickly type words with your fingers. Ding dong. Lu Shuer. No, I have to repay it. I will also repay you along with the interest. Lu Shuer. If it doesn't work, I won't do it. I'll return it to you now. Originally, the braised rice was delicious, but when Su Tong saw the news, he almost choked. Damn it, I didn't want to give it for free. What's the point? Is it easy for me to make some money just by putting in a lot of effort? Su Tong. Do you have any problems? Lu Shuer. I won't be your girlfriend. Su Tong. What? Su Tong. Who wants you to be a girlfriend? I'm too narcissistic, I just want to show my love. Lu Shuer looked at her phone, originally feeling as angry as a pufferfish, ready to vent her anger on Su Tong, but Su Tong was not as she had imagined. Stupid and stunned, as if dumbfounded. And Su Tong looked at the words she was typing on her side. He doesn't want her to lose the 200,000 he just received. Su Tong carefully analyzed Lu Shuer, and then remembered what Zhang Zhenghu, the foolish son of the landlord, had said in the evening. He immediately understood. Is Lu Shuer worried that her purpose is the same as Zhang Zhenghu's? Su Tong took a deep breath and his fingers fluttered. Su Tong. As a young person in the new era, my motto is to be prosperous, democratic, civilized, harmonious, free and equal, just and rule of law, patriotic, dedicated, honest and friendly. Su Tong. Born under a red flag, growing in the sunshine, without such dark thoughts. When Lu Shuer saw this, a strange expression flashed in her eyes. Lu Shuer. What do you really not need me to do? Su Tong. Yes, I voluntarily give 200,000 yuan to Ms. Lu Shuer. Su Tong. Alright, let's talk if it's not enough. Lu Shuer. Thank you, thank you. When I'm done, I'll treat you to dinner. Lu Shuer intimacy +3, Su Tong put down his phone and looked at his bank card balance, breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, 200,000 yuan was saved. After finishing all the dishes on the plate, Su Tong strolled around the campus, looking around and feeling inexplicably relaxed a lot. Originally, 1 yuan had to be broken into several pieces, but now there are over 200,000 yuan lying in the bank card. Live with your head down, your eyes only on your feet. Looking at the canvas shoes I was wearing on my feet, they were already glued. The clothes are still discounted items from the pedestrian street 2 years ago. And there's the phone, the screen is rotten like this. The buttons are not sensitive anymore. Change. Must be replaced. If the energy source of the system keeps making money, then make it. Earn it and spend it. The once unimaginable luxury life, Su Tong now has an idea. Su Tong arrived at the mall. Go straight to the mobile phone specialty store without any hesitation, and buy the most expensive phone for 10,000 yuan. Fruit 18 p.m., as for the original phone, store and import it. Without hesitation, Su Tong threw it away directly. A phone doesn't come with a case, in a word, I just like the feel of a bare phone. Su Tong was not too frivolous and did not go to see other luxury goods. In short, I can't afford it now. Go straight to the styling store on the 7th floor of the mall. After coming out, Su Tong became much more handsome. Simple Korean semi-differential, shaved beard and trimmed eyebrows. Su Tong is not ugly at all, he is just unkempt and has no taste in dressing, which makes him seem transparent and ignored by the girls. The girl who was supposed to receive Su Tong now grew up in shock. It's like a different person. Clean face with sharp edges. His eyes were clear and transparent, yet they carried a sense of storytelling. Su Tong's height is 181 centimeters, and standing in the crowd can also be considered a tall category. Su Tong, holding his phone, turned around and walked towards a luxurious brand clothing store. Under the recommendation of the salesperson, I bought 2 sets of clothes and 2 pairs of shoes. After paying, Su Tong changed into new clothes, carried another set, and left the luxury brand store. Sir, your original clothes. Lost it, right? The next day, Su Tong woke up in the big bed of a 5-star hotel. The clothes I bought yesterday have already been washed and hung at the door. Turn on your phone and take a look at the time. After a simple wash, have breakfast at the hotel. Take a taxi to school. Because there is someone who seems to be able to make use of it. In the eyes of many students, open classes are the kind that can be attended but not attended. The course name is Marketing Psychology. Unfortunately, the teacher who gave the lecture. Maybe I haven't sold anything before, what I said on the podium was very clear. However, Su Tong's goal is not a teacher, but a student. Jiaqing University, sophomore year. The flower of the art department. Zhang Yuqing. Together with Lu Shuer, they are known as the 4 major school flowers. As for why she chose to take this class, it was purely to attract some licking dogs. After all, next month is Valentine's Day, and multiple people may receive multiple red envelopes. Su Tong's goal is her. Su Tong stepped into the classroom and glanced around, only to find that she hadn't come yet. I casually found a seat to sit down. For a moment, the girls in the classroom were whispering to each other. Who is this handsome guy? I haven't seen him before, have I? I don't know, it seems like it's not from a business school, it should be from another school. This head, this temperament, oh my God, can you just make me drool uncontrollably? No, I want to take action. If I can't kiss his mouth, what's the difference between it and salted fish? I think he looks like Su Tong, but his temperament doesn't seem at all. For their casual conversation, Su Tong said he didn't care at all and it didn't match. Soon, Su Tong's roommates appeared at the door of the classroom. The 3 of them were all dressed like butterflies, taking out their most handsome clothes and even washing their hair with cold water. However, when the 3 of them saw Su Tong, their eyes widened and they looked incredulous. Boss Lu Jing directly cursed. Wachow, Lao Si, are you changing your head now? Su Tong smiled lightly at the corner of his mouth and raised his eyebrows gently, saying. What? The changes are so significant. Old San Su Ran nodded solemnly and said. To the extent of being handsome and bending me. The second son Song Zhihao sat down with a smile, looking as if he knew the inside story, and said. I've told you all before that old 4 is not unattractive, it's just because he doesn't dress up. But now, it's more handsome than I expected. Su Ran looked at Su Tong playing with his phone, and when he carefully examined it, he widened his eyes and exclaimed in shock. 4th, are you winning the lottery? Surprisingly, you used fruits for 18 p.m., over 10,000 yuan. Su Tong flipped his phone and said. I didn't win the lottery, my old house was demolished, and I lost some money. These 3 roommates are simply the best brothers for Su Tong. When Su Tong has no money to eat, they always come to help him. Now that Su Tong is not short of money, they are naturally happy. When there are still 5 minutes left before class. Zhang Yuqing appeared at the classroom entrance wearing a black JK suspender dress, thin flesh-colored stockings on her legs, and black high heels with round toe leather shoes. Her face is fair and her features are picturesque. Lips are like cherries, cheeks blush slightly, as bright as peach blossoms. The whole body is full of bumps and curves, with a pair of long legs that are straight but not lacking in flesh. Regular exercise is visible. As Zhang Yuqing entered everyone's sight, restless hearts were flourishing. My eyes seemed to fall on Zhang Yuqing. The thumping sound of her high heels on the ground made every step she took as if she had stepped on the hearts of everyone. Chapter 4. Wealthy Expenses. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Su Tong looked at her and whispered to the system, "Does it match? This person is eligible, view information. Name: Zhang Yuqing, age: 20, height: 172, weight: 51, appearance: 87, == 98, status: normal, intimacy." Su Tong closed the system panel and looked at Zhang Yuqing. Think about how to get to know her and use her to make money. Su Ran saw Su Tong staring straight at him and helplessly reminded him. Fourth, you can't even hold her hand with these tens of thousands of dollars. Song Zhihao also spoke out in agreement and said. Yes, without some capital, it's difficult to get along with her, even if you're handsome. Upon hearing these words, Su Tong smiled and said. Okay, let me show you how I can get her to add me on WeChat. During the conversation, he stood up directly and walked towards Zhang Yuqing. Without hesitation, sit down next to Zhang Yuqing. At this moment, the students in the classroom were all quiet, both boys and girls were looking forward to the next plot. Zhang Yuqing glanced at Su Tong and then turned her head back. Zhang Yuqing intimacy. 10 Su Tong's heart was filled with MMP, but he still smiled and said. Add a V and I'll give you 10,000. Zhang Yuqing intimacy. 10 Zhang Yuqing turned her head and looked at Su Tong calmly, saying. I know you can't afford me, don't waste my time here. Su Tong's heart was filled with certainty, and this was the person he was looking for. He said. Add V, 50,000. Zhang Yuqing opened her phone and placed it in front of Su Tong, saying. Come on, boss, let's make the payment first. Su Tong took out his phone and directly scanned Zhang Yuqing for 100,000 yuan. Another 50,000 yuan, I'll buy you lunch with me. Looking at the WeChat account receipt prompt, Zhang Yuqing was somewhat surprised in her heart. Zhang Yuqing intimacy +20. After Su Tong added her WeChat, she spoke in a voice that only the two of them could hear. How do you know that I can't afford you? Before Zhang Yuqing could react, she turned around and returned to her original position. Leave only Zhang Yuqing to brainstorm on her own. Zhang Yuqing intimacy +20. Many boys couldn't help but take a cold breath. This contact information is 50,000. This is too scary, isn't it? Su Tong didn't care about their thoughts at all, looking at the balance in his bank card and holding back to not laugh out loud. On April 18, 2024, at 10:12 a.m., your account ending in 8867 received a revenue of 200,000 yuan with a balance of 304,682.43 during class. Zhang Yuqing would always secretly use her spare time to look at Su Tong. Zhang Yuqing intimacy +3. After class, Zhang Yuqing took the initiative to walk towards Su Tong. The three people around Su Tong were all feeling uneasy and instinctively retreated a bit. Zhang Yuqing looked at Su Tong with a hint of teasing in her eyes and said. Handsome guy, what do you have for lunch? Su Tong smiled and said, you can choose, regardless of the price. In fact, Su Tong really wants her to slaughter more, after all, this is how she can make more profit. Upon hearing these words, Zhang Yuqing smiled and said. Okay, since you're saying that, then let's go. Under the stunned and shocked gaze of everyone, the two slowly left. Su Ran's mouth widened and he said, "Did Lao Si have a stroke?" Song Jihao was also shocked and said, "This guy spent 100,000 yuan on girls." Boss Lu Jing was also a bit confused and said, "How much money did he actually demolish?" "Take a taxi outside the school and head straight to Menuanjing Shopping Mall. The top floor of Menuanjing is a Western restaurant." The entrance was very imposing, and at a glance, it was a daunting situation. Zhang Yuqing stood at the door. Although she looked up at Su Tong, there was a commanding gaze in her eyes. "I still have time to regret now. I will only mock you for a while." Su Tong smiled lightly at the corner of his mouth and said, "Don't save me money, rest assured." Upon hearing these words, Zhang Yuqing thought to herself that she had also received 100,000 yuan from Su Tong. Even if he didn't want to pay, she could still afford it. Will not be left to wash dishes. Zhang Yuqing Intimacy .10. After taking a step inside, Su Tong handed the menu to Zhang Yuqing and said, looking very single, "I've never been to such a place before. You can take your order and also order my portion." Zhang Yuqing took the menu and ordered 2 servings of filet steak, 2 appetizers of French baked snails, and 2 cups of Blue Mountain coffee. As for the other side dishes, desserts, and so on, she didn't look at them at all. The money went into her own pocket and it was all her own, so Zhang Yuqing decided to keep it as little as possible. Of course, she also wants to save face. How many dishes to order, like that? Su Tong accidentally caught a glimpse of caviar on a page and said to the standing waiter, "Can you introduce her to caviar and ask her to order one?" Zhang Yuqing Intimacy .10. At this moment, Zhang Yuqing is already cursing Su Tong in her heart. If you don't have money, you have to pretend to be forced, and you also need caviar. Do you also want a portion of foie gras? After being warmly introduced by the nearby waiter, Zhang Yuqing ordered a small portion of caviar to save face. However, when returning the menu to the waiter, Zhang Yuqing fiercely gouged out Su Tong's eyes. If Su Tong doesn't pay, then this is all his own money. Zhang Yuqing Intimacy .10. Su Tong is speechless now. His mother Laozi invites you to dinner just to earn your rebate. Do you actually dislike me? What's the point? I really want to change people after earning this meager fee. Su Tong ignored Zhang Yuqing, and similarly, Zhang Yuqing ignored Su Tong. Half an hour later, Su Tong patted his stomach but didn't eat enough. Not to the taste. I turned around and went to check out, only to find that I had ordered over 3,000 yuan. Zhang Yuqing Intimacy +20. Su Tong sighed and silently said in her heart, "This white-eye cannot be tolerated for nothing. She must spend more money on herself." After paying for the meal, Zhang Yuqing also carefully examined Su Tong. Even the wealthy second generation she knows wouldn't casually give her a gift of 100,000 yuan just to add her on WeChat and have a meal. And those wealthy second generation individuals have a monthly allowance of around 100,000 yuan. Zhang Yuqing couldn't help but ask, "Why are you so rich? Aren't you a poor student?" Su Tong glanced at her, feeling annoyed, and said, "Do you mind me?" Zhang Yuqing did not reduce her family density due to this statement. Instead, he smiled and held Su Tong's arm, saying, "So, Su the handsome guy, where are we going next?" In Zhang Yuqing's eyes, Su Tong should be an overnight millionaire with a nouveau riche mentality, always wanting to engage in retaliatory consumption. It's better to give this money cheap to oneself than to give it cheap to others. Let's first put it in the fish pond and raise it as a high-quality fish. If we can continue to maintain such high quality, it's not impossible to give it some sweetness. Chapter 5. Crazy Consumption. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Su Tong's appearance is also quite good. Especially now, there is a certain aristocratic temperament in this appearance. Su Tong's purpose is very obvious. Having eaten enough, he began to brush money and pointed straight downstairs, saying, I don't have any classes this afternoon. Let's go shopping and see if there's anything you like. Upon hearing these words, Zhang Yuqing's heart was filled with joy. I was planning to collect Su Tong's wool, but now Su Tong has brought it up himself. Who can refuse this? Zhang Yuqing took the initiative to hold Su Tong's arm and occasionally hit people with the ball. Su Tong, who has been single for so long, has never experienced this. Unnaturally, he withdrew his arm and said, "This is not comfortable." Zhang Yuqing smiled lightly at the corner of her mouth, changed her way, and grabbed Su Tong's hand. 10 fingers interlocked. On the face, everything is sweet. If it weren't for Su Tong's knowledge of this situation, his intimacy with her was only 13, and he truly believed that this woman had changed her outlook on him. Give a slight sigh. Sure enough, the more beautiful a woman is, the more likely she is to deceive others. Although Su Tong needs such a woman to help him with his money. But I still feel a bit uncomfortable in my heart. After all, being treated as a scapegoat by others may not be very comfortable for anyone to come over. Su Tong's heart also flashed with a hint of revenge. If you want me to enter your fish pond, then give it a try. Who exactly keeps who? Su Tong and Zhang Yuqing walked hand in hand inside the mall. She looks really like a couple. In addition, with their appearance online, passers-by turned around one after another. Su Tong headed straight to the first floor, various luxury brand stores, and casually swiping tens of thousands of yuan should be no problem. Standing at the entrance of Louis Vuitton, Zhang Yuqing was somewhat shocked and said, "Brother Su Tong, do you want to give me LV's bag?" Su Tong lifted his leg and walked in, saying, "All right, let's see if there's anything you like." The doorstep salesperson followed behind the two and asked, "Welcome to Louis Vuitton. May I ask what you need so that I can easily recommend it to you?" The salesperson couldn't pick out any flaws with every frown or smile, and didn't worry about the two of them not buying. In reality, in this luxury goods store, every salesperson needs to take turns queuing up to receive customers. After all, there aren't many people coming to see it. As for the customers, even if you can't afford it, or if you don't buy it after looking around, it doesn't matter. As long as you know about the brand and positioning, it may be hiding customers. So it won't happen at all, like that, what to say. What is it called to buy a car for 100,000 yuan? It's called. Such a problem should not occur. Anyway, I haven't encountered it before. Su Tong was quite natural and sat down on the stool in front of the counter, calmly saying to the salesperson, "Introduce her to your new handbag and also show her your clothes. If you like them, you can take them with you." As the words fell, the fake smile of the salesperson's work immediately turned into a real smile, and he diligently poured a glass of water for Su Tong. Zhang Yuqing walked slowly through the store. She had a classic LV vintage handbag, which was still a second-hand one. Nowadays, seeing these new styles and colors, in the eyes of little girls, they naturally look better than old flowers. The salesperson saw her staring at the bag and quickly walked into the counter, praising her. Beautiful women really have a keen eye. This is our newly launched handbag, which arrived the day before yesterday. It also has a shoulder strap design that can be carried by hand. Speaking, he took off his bag and showed it to Zhang Yuqing. Zhang Yuqing was also attracted by this bag and held it in her hand to watch. She turned around and looked in the mirror to see the effect. The happy expression on my face couldn't be concealed, and the more I looked at it, the more I liked it. The beautiful woman's skin color is very white. This is made of two-tone monogram implant leather, decorated with LV logo and monogram floral pattern. This Speedy Banduli A-Re-20 handbag is a modern classic. The design inspiration comes from the Speedy suitcase series of the 1930s, restoring the original shape and hinged handle. It is equipped with leather metal chain straps for easy shoulder and crossbody carrying. Su Tong stood up and said frankly, "Okay, let's take this bag and see if there's anything else we like." Zhang Yuqing intimacy +7. Upon hearing these words, Zhang Yuqing was very happy and hugged Su Tong directly, saying, "Thank you, brother." Su Tong glanced at the shelf tag above and found that the price was only 36,000, not enough. "Go take a look at the dress over there, do you have anything you like?" Zhang Yuqing intimacy +5. Zhang Yuqing was surprised. Today, after this trip, she gave herself over 100,000 yuan as a gift. The key is to let oneself choose. Most people can afford a Louis Vuitton bag, but buying clothes is truly money. The consumption of bags is relatively slow, and I have carried this item this year, and I will continue to carry it next year and the year after. No one said anything about it. But wearing clothes from 3 years ago has changed its taste in the eyes of knowledgeable people. Su Tong looked at the clothes over there, not knowing what looked good. He just looked at a dress and said, "Try putting it on." Zhang Yuqing looked at the printed lace-up dress, which was still blue. Although she had some disdain for straight men's aesthetics, she chose to try it on because Su Tong had bought a bag for her. After putting it on, the effect is quite good. Zhang Yuqing was already similar to a hanger, and when she put it on, she was no different from a model. The salesperson couldn't help but sigh. Good looking, very suitable. Zhang Yuqing, carrying a new bag, turned around in front of the mirror and asked, "Brother, are you pretty?" Su Tong nodded and said, "Okay, I'll take it all." Zhang Yuqing turned around and went to the fitting room to change her clothes. The salesperson smiled and placed the bag on the counter, then took out a new handbag from under the counter. "Sir, this bag costs 36,000 yuan, the printed dress costs 27,000 yuan, and the middle belt costs 17,000 yuan. Upon hearing the quotation, Su Tong nodded in satisfaction and said, "Okay, scan the code." After paying the money, the salesperson verified the bag for Zhang Yuqing. Each LV bag has an independent code and a chip inside, which can be scanned for information on the shopping guide's phone. The color, size, origin, and name of the bag are displayed on it. I've asked about this before, but we can't scan it on our own phones. If anyone wants to check their bags, they can go to the counter to check them. Zhang Yuqing intimate +5. After browsing through my bags, I went to look for cosmetics, skincare products, and some clothes. Zhang Yuqing was so shocked that she couldn't speak. I just got to know her and spent over 250,000 yuan on it. 3 hours later. The skincare products that Zhang Yuqing was once reluctant to buy. For example, the Sea Blue Mystery Gilded series and the Helena Green Bottle series. And Su Tong didn't let go of all the luxury brand clothes he was reluctant to buy. Recharge your membership card and call to inquire about the new models every season. As for makeup, Chanel, Armani, they all take the best things. When she arrived at the jewelry, Su Tong prepared to give her some diamond necklaces, bracelets, and so on. Zhang Yuqing immediately waved her hand and said, "Brother, stop strolling, can't carry it anymore." Su Tong looked at his bank card and was very satisfied. He earned 50,000 yuan today. Su Tong nodded and said, "Okay, then we won't go shopping." Zhang Yuqing looked at so many things in her hand and was very happy. Standing on tiptoe, he kissed Su Tong's face and said, "Thank you, brother." Su Tong felt a thud on his face, not much sensation. Just like a dragonfly skimming water. Su Tong looked at the goods in his hand, all of which belonged to Zhang Yuqing. "Do you live at school or outside?" "I rented a small house near the school." "Okay, let's go. Send the things back first, and then come out for dinner." Upon hearing this, Zhang Yuqing naturally expressed no objection. For a little virgin like Su Tong, Zhang Yuqing is very confident that she can pinch her hand. The two of them took a taxi to the old residential area next to the school. Most of the people living in this community are students from the school. Because it is an old residential area, the rent is relatively low. 2 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, it looks a bit cozy, and the decoration is also somewhat cute. Zhang Yuqing pushed Su Tong to sit on the sofa and whispered, "Brother, please sit down and have a glass of water first." A moment later, Zhang Yuqing walked over with 2 cups of water and handed Su Tong a cup. Su Tong took a few sips and put down his water glass, saying, "Are you 2 people living here?" Chapter 6. Touching the Hearts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhang Yuqing sat next to Su Tong and said, "Yeah, I don't want to live on campus, so I rented a house with my best friend. The house here is close to the school, isn't it cheap for a month?" "Well, it's over 2,000 a month, and relying solely on the living expenses provided by the family is not enough. We can only rely on part-time subsidies." "What part-time jobs do you all do?" Zhang Yuqing broke her fingers and calculated. "Well, there's a shopping mall event and opening, with a dance performance costing 300 yuan, a bar performance costing 500 yuan, sometimes there are more car models, with a performance costing 1,000 yuan, but it's very rare, not necessarily every few months." Zhang Yuqing crossed her legs and her small skirt slid down slightly. The base of the fair thighs is more exposed, and the thickened part of the stockings can be vaguely seen. Su Tong's gaze also occasionally drifted above. Zhang Yuqing naturally noticed, but didn't care, and even felt a bit complacent in her heart. "Little sample, I won't kill you." Zhang Yuqing lifted her long legs and pressed them against Su Tong's leg, coquettishly speaking. "Little brother, are you pretty?" Su Tong's cheeks turned slightly red and he instinctively swallowed saliva. "Cough, it looks good." Zhang Yuqing had a proud expression on her face, which she knew very well. Su Tong, a virgin like him, would turn red in the face and ears with just a little favor. However, due to Su Tong's generosity, she understands better. He should take some advantage of it, otherwise he might be fooled. Zhang Yuqing took the initiative to embrace Su Tong and relaxed, saying, "Brother, do you like me?" Su Tong felt Zhang Yuqing surge in his arm and spoke barefoot. "I like it." Zhang Yuqing showed a triumphant smile and her movements became a bit larger. Su Tong pulled Zhang Yuqing into his arms and looked straight into her eyes, saying, "You intentionally did it." Zhang Yuqing leaned in his ear and whispered, "Brother Su Tong, what do you think?" For a moment, the fragrance on Zhang Yuqing's body, whether it was the scent of shampoo on her hair or her own body scent, flooded into her nostrils. After speaking, she directly kissed Su Tong's lips. Su Tong widened his eyes in shock, as it was his first kiss. Zhang Yuqing felt his unfamiliarity and teasingly spoke up. "Is this your first time?" Su Tong can't bear this. Under the influence of so many learning materials, have you never eaten pork or seen a pig run? This time he took the initiative to kiss. Fingers slowly move up along the pattern of the stockings. Zhang Yuqing tightly wrapped her hands around Su Tong's neck, deepening the kiss. For a long time. Separate their lips. Su Tong wanted to continue and directly pressed Zhang Yuqing onto the sofa. Zhang Yuqing's eyes dodged and she reached out to stop Su Tong, whispering, "Brother Su Tong, let's go have dinner first. If my best friend comes back later, it won't look good." Su Tong tasted a hint of sweetness and was not distressed, saying, "Okay, let's go and have dinner." Zhang Yuqing smiled and took Su Tong's arm, gently shaking it, saying, "Thank you, brother Su Tong." Dinner is naturally another big meal. After dinner, the two of them were like ordinary couples, holding hands and pressing down the road. Talking about topics that are neither salty nor light. If it weren't for the intimacy display, only 35, Su Tong really believed that this girl would fall in love with her. On the square at night. Bonfires, fireworks, and neon lights are equally impressive, and many couples are also marveling at the beautiful scenery. When the emotions reached their depths, they couldn't help but kiss each other on the street. Zhang Yuqing saw Su Tong's expressionless face and curiously asked. Brother Su Tong, what kind of love do you yearn for? Upon hearing this question, Su Tong really thought about it, but what happened next was a bit disappointing. Why use such a good term to describe the pleasure of fish and water? Zhang Yuqing took Su Tong's hand and smiled lightly, pretending to be comforting, saying. Brother Su Tong, do you like me? Su Tong smiled and replied. I like it. Zhang Yuqing placed Su Tong's hand on her waist and said. Can you chase me? I'll be your girlfriend. Su Tong's face showed a deep meaning, staring at Zhang Yuqing and saying. Well, let's talk about it later. Zhang Yuqing couldn't grasp Su Tong's meaning for a moment. However, she still pointed to the nearby bar and said. It's still early, why don't we go in and sit down? Su Tong also stood tired, looking at the folk wine glass on the roadside, without refusing, and said. Okay, let's go sit down. The drinks in folk bars are not expensive, you can get 2 glasses of mixed drinks and a dozen beers for a few hundred yuan. I randomly chose a sofa seat and sat there listening to the folk singer singing inside. Zhang Yuqing sat next to Su Tong, muttering. Brother Su Tong, I've noticed that I like you a bit. Su Tong picked up his glass and took a sip, with a hint of contempt in his eyes. Su Tong is very clear about this routine. Lu Jing was once played with by girls like this. She will say the next sentence, if you pursue me well, you will like me. Su Tong didn't say anything, he just took a sip of the wine and the taste wasn't good. I reached out to change the beer and took a sip into my mouth. Brother, why are you ignoring me? Zhang Yuqing, who was clinging to Su Tong, asked coquettishly. Su Tong smiled and raised his glass, saying. No, I just want to listen to music. The singer on stage, with a hoarse voice, sings about his past love. Everyone's face was filled with sadness, and the 4 words, love but not, seemed to be written on their faces. Zhang Yuqing saw Su Tong's sad face and gently hugged him, saying. Brother, do you have someone you used to love very much? Su Tong shook his head, just took a sip of wine, and said unusually calmly. I used to think about how to survive every day, but as for love, I don't deserve it. Zhang Yuqing once knew Su Tong because of his face. It was only after a detailed understanding that she realized he was so poor. So he gave up his idea. Zhang Yuqing had no such thoughts at all because she was beautiful. The world seems to have given a green light to beautiful people. She will have smooth sailing in both life and emotions. There will be a group of people behind her who like her. Zhang Yuqing cannot understand the kind of love that cannot be tolerated. She would only think that if the person she likes doesn't like her, then it's better to switch to someone else. As for that. So when Zhang Yuqing saw Su Tong like this, she wanted to divert her attention and say. Brother, can you play dice? A little bit. Let's play dice then. The 2 of them started shaking their dice, losing was like a glass of wine. After a few rounds, Su Tong lost more and won less. The dozen drinks on the table are halfway down. Zhang Yuqing will also symbolically lose a few times, or have a drink with Su Tong. Zhang Yuqing's body was as soft as bones, leaning against Su Tong and tightly holding his arm in her arms. His face was flushed, his eyes blurred, and he pouted for a kiss. Su Tong glanced around with his eyes. I found no one paying attention here. He lightly tapped on Zhang Yuqing's lips. Su Tong whispered in her ear, asking. How about going to the hotel to sleep tonight? Chapter 7. KFC. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhang Yuqing hugged Su Tong, although her face was flushed, her eyes were unusually clear. The corners of the mouth have a slight curve, achieving the goal. Su Tong has taken the bait. For such a little virgin, she knows best how to handle it. If you give it the first time, it actually makes you feel less important. After all, what cannot be obtained is the best and the most tantalizing. Zhang Yuqing lay on Su Tong's shoulder, her lips touching Su Tong's ear at any moment, and her voice could tingle to the bone, saying, "Brother, is he just such a casual person in your heart? I know my brother likes others, and I also like him. But brother, can you give them some time?" Upon hearing these words, Su Tong nodded and said, "Well, okay, you go back." Zhang Yuqing, who was originally lying on Su Tong's body. I was confused by his extreme answer, as I had already thought of many reasons in my mind. I didn't expect to use it at all. But judging from Su Tong's appearance, he must be angry. Zhang Yuqing had a look of grievance on her face and said, "Brother, are you angry now?" Su Tong didn't get angry when he saw her like this. Did she suffer first? "No, let's go. It's getting late, it's good to go back soon." After speaking, he walked out in a meteor-like manner. Zhang Yuqing also quickly caught up, still tightly holding onto Su Tong's arm and pitifully saying, "Brother, we just got to know each other today. You should also give me some psychological preparation. And I yearn for sweet love." Su Tong's face was calm, and he shook off his arm and said, "Yes. There's no problem with what you said. It's really progressing fast, it's getting late. Let's go back. Is it on this PUA? This is really what TM is used to. Don't stand up when you act, and stand up when you act. It's really a good hand to play." Zhang Yuqing will continue to explain. "Brother Su Tong, don't be angry." Su Tong waved his hand and said with a serious expression, "All right, I'm not angry. It's getting late, it's really time to go home." Zhang Yuqing knows what Su Tong is thinking. It's obvious that I'm angry, just refusing to admit it. But she is very confident that within 3 days, Su Tong will still continue to look for her. Zhang Yuqing didn't hesitate either, just got into the car and smiled at Su Tong, waving her hand and saying, "Goodbye, brother." Su Tong remained expressionless and got into the taxi behind him. 20 minutes later, Su Tong returned to school. The phone is vibrating. Zhang Yuqing. "Brother, I have arrived home." Su Tong glanced at her and set her as undisturbed. "If you want to catch me, then let's see who the fish is." Pushing open the dormitory door, 3 good brothers, their ears propped up like rabbits. "I just want to hear about Su Tong's one-day date with school flower Zhang Yuqing." Su Tong took off his coat and draped it over the back of the chair, calmly saying, "There aren't as many things as you think, just a simple stroll and have a meal, nothing more." Upon hearing these words, Su Ran immediately asked, "So where did you go? Are we together?" Su Tong shook his head. "No agreement." Upon hearing these words, the 3 of them were clearly disappointed, but their eyes lit up again. After careful consideration, he personally extinguished the light. Su Tong spent 100,000 yuan but couldn't catch up with Zhang Yuqing. What about the 3 of them? How much more money can we spend to support her? Besides, how long does it take for the 3 of them to earn 100,000 yuan? How could it be like Su Tong, using 100,000 yuan as a door opener? Upon closer reflection, there was another wave of sadness. Lu Jing's face was desolate and he said, "Fourth, this is simply a bottomless pit. No matter how much money you have, you can't fill it in. After all, earning money is not easy." Song Zhihao also agreed. "Yeah, Su Tong, you already look good. You still have some money on you now. It's nice to chase a good little girl, isn't it? Why waste money on Zhang Yuqing?" For a moment, the 3 of them were unsure whether they were warning Su Tong or comforting themselves. Su Tong saw that they had all finished speaking and picked up his phone with a smile, saying, "I know now, don't worry. After 4 years of college and 3 years of meals, I also want to thank my brothers." Speaking, he transferred 100,000 yuan to each of them. Wokeo. The three of them did not collect any money, but instead gathered around and looked at Su Tong with serious faces. Lu Jing. What's wrong with you, fourth brother? Su ran. Don't scare me, fourth brother. Why did you suddenly transfer money? Song Jihao said, if we are really sick, hurry up and go to the hospital for treatment. Brothers don't want your money. Lu Jing. You don't like your brothers, do you? I can't do this, I can't even give money. Su ran. Adding one, even giving money is not enough. Su Tong saw them like this and laughed and cursed. Rolling calf, this is a drop of water's kindness from me, it should be repaid by a gushing spring. At night, Su Tong slept soundly. Because the days are moving in a normal direction of joy. At the same time, Zhang Yuqing was also filled with joy. All the clothes, bags, shoes, as well as skincare and cosmetics boxes given by Su Tong are placed on the living room table. I took a photo full of joy. I wanted to post on my social media and clicked on WeChat, but found out that Su Tong had not replied to any messages. Feeling a bit down. How could he not reply to his message? Zhang Yuqing wanted to post another one, but she held back. He's chasing after himself, he's not angry yet. I don't respect myself so much. I haven't agreed to be his girlfriend yet, so I just said I want to open a house. What do you consider yourself to be? And Zhang Yuqing is certain that Su Tong will not give up on herself because she has given him a chance. He also took advantage of it. Clack. The door has been opened. A girl wearing a COS suit walked in. Lu Man. A super beautiful manga face, coupled with super straight manga legs, the whole person really looks like a beautiful woman walking out of the anime. Lu Man's gaze was immediately drawn to the luxury goods placed on the table, and he lost his voice and said. Ah, Yuqing, did you win the lottery? Reward yourself like this. Zhang Yuqing turned around to look and smiled, saying. No, it's a nouveau riche from our school who suddenly demolished his house and wants to chase me today. These are all gifts from him. Lu Man looked at the bags, cosmetics, skincare products, and clothes placed on the sofa and table. All of them are luxury goods. How much did the demolition cost? Can you be so extravagant? The gift I gave you today must be 200,000 yuan, right? Zhang Yuqing nodded and happily picked up LV's bag, repeatedly reflecting in front of the mirror. I calculated, it's probably over 250,000 yuan. Plus today's meal and the 100,000 yuan he gave me, he spent a total of over 300,000 yuan today. Lu Man's eyes were filled with envy, flipping through numerous luxury items before lifting his head and saying. He gave you so many things. Did he just put you back like this? This is not realistic, is it? Upon hearing these words, Zhang Yuqing gave Lu Man a complete explanation in detail. Lu Man couldn't help but sigh. It's great to have money. And I know about retaliatory consumption, but it's all for oneself. How could it be for others? Also, while shopping, he didn't buy anything for himself. He's not sick, is he? After listening, Zhang Yuqing said seriously. Jiaqing University, even if it's not as good, it's still one book. Do you think he has a brain problem? After hearing this, Lu Man murmured. That's a bit strange, but... Zhang Yuqing saw her hesitant expression, and smiled as she spoke. Oh my, our relationship. You can say whatever you want. After hearing this, Lu Man smiled awkwardly and said. Introduce me to such good and high-quality peers. The rice leaked from his fingers' crevices is enough for me to eat for a year. Why go out to work so hard every day? Chapter 8. Bringing anchors back to the real world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing these words, Zhang Yuqing immediately refused and said. No way. What are you doing? This is my person. Lu Man pursed his lips and said. Don't you want this little brother? It's better to give it to me at a cheaper price than to give it to someone else. Zhang Yuqing widened her eyes and retorted. I didn't say it, I don't want it. Who said I don't want it anymore? I want it. Lu Man asked curiously. So you're still hanging him? As you said, do you still treat him as a poor loser without money? He's so rich now, will he lack women? Does he insist on chasing you and not letting go? Continuously asking questions made Zhang Yuqing feel a bit confused, but still out of self-comfort, she said. Maybe he really likes me. Upon hearing these words, Lu Man patted Yuqing's shoulder and smiled, saying. Okay, good luck to you then, but I still suggest that you don't treat him like your licking dog. Zhang Yuqing lowered her head and pondered for a moment, and finally came to a conclusion. This loser must really like himself. Why else would you add 50,000 yuan to your WeChat account? Even if I refuse him now, within 3 days, he will definitely be like other licking dogs. Take the initiative to find yourself again. Lu Man didn't say much and turned to the bathroom to remove her makeup. The next day, Su Tong was awakened by his phone before he even got up. Tutor. Come to my office during the lunch break. Su Tong looked drowsy and clicked on his phone to reply. Su Tong. Got it. Just wake up and wash up, then prepare to go find the guide. And Su Tong currently doesn't want to live in the dormitory either. Which 5-star hotel has a better environment? Dong dong. Come in. Su Tong pushed the door in and saw Lin Ruoshi looking at the paper documents. Under the light blue cheongsam, a pair of slender and beautiful legs, under the table, were eye-catching. Director Lin Ruoshi saw Su Tong, put down the document in her hand, and looked up, saying. According to Lu Shuer, you gave her 200,000 yuan for her mother's medical treatment. Su Tong nodded and relaxed, saying. Yes, my hometown has been demolished recently and I received a share of the money. She is similar to my family, so I donated it to her. Lin Ruoshi looked at Su Tong's gaze with appreciation, crossed her hands to support her chin, and said. Where will you live in the future? What are you planning to do in the future? Should I recommend some jobs to you? You are currently in your senior year, so if you don't take the postgraduate entrance exam, you should also consider working. Su Tong smiled and scratched the back of his head, saying. Thank you, supervisor. I don't need it for now. If I can't find a satisfactory job, I'll come to you again. Lin Ruoshi nodded and said seriously. Okay, it's good for young people to go out and explore. The quota of Jinglang Group will always be reserved for you. Su Tong nodded solemnly and said, Thank you, Director Lin. Jinglang Group is one of the top private enterprises in Jiaqing City, and its welfare system goes without saying. It is also a leader in the real estate industry in Jiaqing City. After Su Tong left from Lin Ruoshi's side, he began planning the next step of brushing money. After all, given 300,000 yuan, we still need to make money. As for Zhang Yuqing, let's leave that for now. This cowardly fee can also be earned by someone else. Even when I was poor, I didn't rush like this. Even if we have to use them to make money now, we can't rush like this. Strolling outside, I found that there are not many girls with scores above 80. Flipping through my phone, thinking about how to schedule a beautiful girl. Suddenly remembered, Lu Jing once said. The software for heartwarming companionship can call a girl, accompany oneself to eat, go shopping, and so on. Simply put, it means spending money to treat girls to meals, go shopping, and watch movies. You can also dance, drink, and sing. According to the software, this is pure green. After downloading, Su Tong found that the price was not low at all. In terms of hourly fees, starting at 100 yuan. There will be various beauties on the interface, with their own front-face photos. But when faced with photos, the system cannot determine whether they match or not. In order to prevent missing out, Su Tong directly raised the price to the highest level, 300 yuan per hour. Choose one of the many beautiful women, place an order for 2 hours, and accompany yourself to have lunch. The photo was beautiful, but when she saw the real person, Su Tong was very injured. This person doesn't match, the system is very direct. Su Tong pointed to the photo and asked in confusion. Is this you? The girl in front of me may not be considered ugly, but she cannot be said to be very beautiful. The girl looked at Su Tong and felt extremely satisfied. After all, Su Tong looked quite handsome. But Su Tong is very uncomfortable, this is ineffective consumption. The girl smiled and wanted to hug Su Tong's arm, saying, Yes, brother, this is me. With a hint of helplessness, Su Tong pinched his brow and said, Sorry, I won't refund the order. You can go home now. After speaking, Su Tong turned around and left. The woman looked at Su Tong's back and jumped in anger, cursing. What are you pretending to be? You don't like me, I still don't like you. Su Tong listened to this curse and turned around calmly, saying, I gave you a negative review, saying you insulted customers. The woman widened her eyes, opened her mouth without cursing out loud, and turned around to leave in hatred. Su Tong looked at the order on her phone and sighed. Accompanying someone is really risky, so be cautious when placing an order. Su Tong glanced at the time and found that it was already noon. It would take some time to find the girl again. Why don't you go eat first? Enter a famous private restaurant. Sister Xian's private dish. Although my name is Sister's private kitchen, the people at the door are all aunties. After sitting down, I casually ordered 2 signature dishes. All the dishes are served by aunties. They are all over 40 years old and seem to have no connection with their older sister. Although the dishes were delicious, Su Tong was not happy eating them. After lunch, Su Tong began to continue looking for companionship. Sorry, my uncle is here. You can leave. The order will be treated as your fare, please leave. Sorry, you go. In the afternoon, 8 people placed orders without exception. All do not match. Su Tong was very helpless. Turn on Douyin on your phone and watch the live broadcast. Although there are not many who match, there are also people who do. If you save 100 miles, that's also saved. That's good, let him sit and look for a needle in a haystack. Not to mention earning money, I spent over $1,000 in the afternoon. But when I was looking for companionship here, I found that I couldn't find a beautiful woman at all. This is simply hitting Su Tong. Hey, we should call for the closure of the live streaming tipping function to allow more online anchors to return to the real economy. Chapter 9. Picking up a girl on the roadside. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Tong sat on the roadside and was suddenly attracted by a girl holding flowers, carrying a small backpack. The girl's face is very beautiful, with a light sweep of her eyebrows and a slightly red nose. Her eyelashes are wet with tears, and her eyes are swollen and moist. Occasionally, tears run down her face. Long hair draped over shoulders, black fairy dress, black lace calf socks below knees on legs, and black leather shoes on feet. The girl's leg shape is very beautiful, fair and smooth, typical supermodel legs, without giving a weak and flawless skeleton feeling. Top-notch lowly. Brother Tong, do you think this person fits? This person is eligible. Do you want to view the information of eligible individuals? View. Name. Chui Ziyue, age. 19, height. 170, weight. 48, appearance. 92, == 100, status. Healthy, intimacy. 0, surprisingly, it's still a chick, that's really nice. Su Tong stood up and stopped in front of Chui Ziyue, saying, I guess you're very sad now. Add me on WeChat and I'll make you happy. Chui Ziyue intimacy level 0.5. Get up, I don't need it. Chui Ziyue's gaze was indifferent, and there was no intention of stopping her steps. Su Tong couldn't let her leave so easily. He stopped her again and said with a serious expression. Beauty, please consider, I can bring you happiness. Chui Ziyue intimacy level 0.5. Chui Ziyue directly inserted the flowers into Su Tong's hand, tears falling down like the floodwaters of an open river, big, and said. Come on, you say, how can you make me happy? Su Tong looked at the flowers, and the card on top still read. Dear, happy birthday. Su Tong's eyes moved lightly, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he said. Darling, although I don't know why you're crying, I want you to wipe away your tears. Because of the happiness that comes next, you won't be beautiful with tears on your face. Chui Ziyue looked at Su Tong with a look of anger, took out her phone, and said. Come on, add WeChat. If you can't make me happy, I will still delete you. Su Tong smiled lightly at the corner of his mouth and took out his phone to scan the code, saying. Okay. After making friends, Su Tong directly sent the first transfer. WeChat account received, 10,000 yuan. WeChat account received, 20,000 yuan. WeChat account received, 30,000 yuan. WeChat account received, 40,000 yuan. Looking at the phone screen, Chui Ziyue widened her eyes in shock, unable to believe it. Su Tong looked straight into her eyes and casually threw the flowers into the trash can. How are you? Do you still feel sad? Chui Ziyue nodded and shook her head, saying. Why? Why did you give me money? Su Tong pondered for a moment and said seriously. I want you to be happy. Then Su Tong smiled with a teasing tone between his eyebrows and eyes and said. After all, your mother gave birth to you so beautifully that crying doesn't make you look good anymore. Upon hearing these words, Chui Ziyue couldn't help but pounce directly into Su Tong's arms. Chui Ziyue intimacy plus 20. Even though the man in front of me was seeing him for the first time, he seemed like a light illuminating himself. Woo-woo, he bullied me. He searched for someone else behind my back. I came over early with a longing to celebrate his birthday, but he found someone else instead. Su Tong knew that this woman's weapon was very strong, but he didn't expect to find out so much when he really got in touch. Upon hearing her complaint, Su Tong understood that she had been betrayed by her boyfriend. Su Tong's expression relaxed. Seeing that she was almost tired from crying, he spoke up. Let's go, your girls usually say, all diseases are cured, I'll verify it. Upon hearing these words, Chui Ziyue's eyes looked a bit strange and said. Do you want to give me a bag? Su Tong nodded and smiled lightly, saying. Smart, let's go. Just as I was about to turn around and take her to the mall, I heard a growl in my stomach. Chui Ziyue smiled awkwardly and said. I haven't gone to eat since morning. Su Tong pointed to the private dish behind him and said. Let's go eat here. I just had it and it's not bad. After receiving the menu, Chui Ziyue was completely shocked. Starting at 200 yuan for any dish here, having a meal here won't even make it worth 500 yuan. This is a bit expensive, let's go somewhere else to eat. Su Tong sighed at her appearance and said to the waiter beside her. Waiter, last your signature dish. After the waiter took the menu and poured the tea, he left. Chui Ziyue intimacy plus 10. Chui Ziyue stared at Su Tong, her eyes full of curiosity, and said. What's your name? Su Tong. My name is Chui Ziyue, thank you. Su Tong took a sip of tea and said with a godly expression. There's no need to say thank you, we happen to have a fate. Destiny doesn't have to say thank you. Chui Ziyue couldn't help but chuckle and said. I also want to say thank you, but I'll give you your money back, after all, earning money is not easy. Su Tong shook his head and said with great pride. Here you are, there's no reason to go back and ask for it. Don't worry, just take it. When we chat here, buddy, the money has already been earned back. Upon hearing these words, Chui Ziyue couldn't help but whisper. Big dog households. What are you saying? Su Tong asked in reverse. Chui Ziyue immediately smiled and denied. No, I didn't say anything. It's impossible, I heard it. Chui Ziyue couldn't find words to lie for a moment and casually said. I'm talking about you, wealthy brother. You're so handsome. Upon hearing these words, Su Tong smiled and asked, Can you tell me exactly why you're crying? Chui Ziyue's mood has noticeably improved, with a gritted teeth and a touch of cuteness. That was my first love. We were together for 3 years, but due to our long-distance relationship, we didn't live in the same city. He turned me green. Su Tong recalled holding a handful of flowers and saying, Well, you're not taking care of him anymore, are you? Chui Ziyue thought for a moment, shook her head, nodded again, and said. I don't know if it counts, so I often give him gifts. I usually prepare gifts for holidays and birthdays, but he never gives me any gifts. Upon hearing these words, Su Tong's face was filled with a mix of tears and laughter, and he said. Wipe, I haven't done anything wrong in my life. How could such a good thing not fall on me? During the conversation, the dishes also came one after another. Upon hearing these words, Chui Ziyue couldn't help but burst out laughing and said. Maybe you're too rich, even if someone gives you something, you won't feel anything, right? Su Tong shook his head and said seriously. No, really not, otherwise I wouldn't be so emotional. But my dear, it's regrettable that your sincerity has fed the dog. After hearing this, Chui Ziyue couldn't help but nod and curse. I was blind at first and fell in love with him. I also packed myself and delivered it to my door. Upon hearing these words, Su Tong carefully scrutinized her. Let's have a full meal first, so that we can have the energy to browse. After all, there are many things we want to buy today. Who are these girlfriends talking about in Chapter 10? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Tong actually can't understand. They are all poor losers. They can not only boast about high-quality beauties. Can you still spend someone else's money and wear their clothes? Is this top-notch lowly not good? The figure of the imperial sister, the face of lowly, and most importantly, the location. Why do you insist on cheating? But now it's also quite fortunate. The person that the big brother didn't get. Now Su Tong's momentum is inevitable. Chui Ziyue intimacy +5. Not long after, Chui Ziyue finished her meal and patted her stomach, saying. Ah, I'm full now, and my mood is really much better. Su Tong stood up and went to the front desk to check out. Let's take a break and go shopping. Chui Ziyue felt that eating people has a short mouth. Since she has eaten someone else's food, some of their demands can be met without excessive demands. So he quickly followed behind Su Tong. Wait for me, I don't need to rest. Su Tong didn't say much when he saw the situation. I took a taxi with Chui Ziyue to Jiaqing Commercial Plaza. Su Tong didn't take any detours this time and headed straight for me.S. Chui Ziyue screamed like a chicken throughout. Why is it so expensive? It's too expensive. After expressing it, it means no need. But Su Tong glanced at her and said. Don't worry, this amount of money is nothing to me. Say it, pay directly, pack and take it away. 2 bags with matching clothes and shoes, totaling 439,000. Chui Ziyue carried the 2 big bags that had been packed, feeling a bit unreal. One day, I was actually in me.S store. Picking clothes is like picking cabbage. Su Tong glanced at Bulgari. Their jewelry seems quite expensive. Immediately pull Chui Ziyue and head to Bulgari. Chui Ziyue was still stunned and hadn't recovered from me.As in her hand before arriving at Bulgari. Chui Ziyue lay on Su Tong's shoulder and whispered. Isn't it a bit expensive here? Su Tong smiled lightly at the corner of his mouth, feeling a bit proud in his heart. It's better to be expensive, but it's too slow to brush money if it's cheaper. Su Tong rubbed Chui Ziyue's hair and said. Don't worry, the money I spent on you has already been earned back when you were picking clothes. Chui Ziyue intimacy +10. Upon hearing these words, Chui Ziyue was also amused and said. Brag. As for the salesperson, he also smiled and bowed to the two of them, saying. Welcome to Bulgari. If you like it, you can take a look. Our home is similar to me.As and won't be much more expensive than theirs. Su Tong reached out to take what Chui Ziyue was holding and sat down on the side, saying. Guide, match her up all over, don't worry about the price. Upon hearing this, the salesperson directly pulled Chui Ziyue towards the ready-to-wear section. Chui Ziyue is a bit confused. Is this the domineering CEO? Chui Ziyue intimacy +4. No, don't have so many, just take one set. This set is too expensive, 20,000 yuan per earring, it's not worth it. Su Tong pointed to 2 sets of clothes and said. Alright, let's take these 2 sets. During these 2 shopping trips, Su Tong spent 970,000 yuan. Su Tong is quite satisfied with today's consumption. After all, this wave has come down. Su Tong's current deposit has reached 1.3 million yuan. Su Tong still wants to take Chui Ziyue and visit other stores. Chui Ziyue squatted directly on the ground, shouting. No, I really don't want it anymore. Big brother, enough, really enough, don't buy any more. Su Tong looked at Chui Ziyue and joked. Love has been hurt, my wallet has been scammed out. Need something to soothe the sadness in your heart. Upon hearing these words, Chui Ziyue chuckled and said. Brother Su Tong, why do you need anything else? With your face, it's more useful than these things. Su Tong knew from her appearance that she was fine and wouldn't be sad anymore. Su Tong pointed to the direct-operated store next to LV and said directly. It's okay not to buy clothes, but you still need to take a few more bags, after all, there are only me.As and Bulgari, isn't that good? Chui Ziyue shook her head and said. Enough, really enough, brother. I'm still a student. It's not appropriate for me to carry such a good bag to class. Upon hearing these words, Su Tong nodded and said. So, carrying LV or Chanel is not too much, but these students also know each other and won't feel like they're walking in luxury clothes at night. Speaking, he forcefully pulled Chui Ziyue and headed towards the LV store. The shopping guide looked at Su Tong as if she was being coerced, carrying Chui Ziyue into the store. Obviously, there is some curiosity on the face, which is rare. The things here are not cheap, many women like them, and it's only men who come to accompany them to make them laugh. But this is a man dragging a woman, and the woman is actually somewhat reluctant. Su Tong said to the salesperson. If you recommend your new bag to her, she can take it with her. Chui Ziyue was forced to start picking bags again. The salesperson introduced Chui Ziyue and didn't forget to say. Beauty, your boyfriend is really kind to you. Upon hearing these words, Chui Ziyue did not refute them, only smiled. Her mindset is also beginning to change. Chui Ziyue intimacy +10. Finally, Su Tong paid for 2 bags. Su Tong felt it was almost over and said. Is there anything else you want? Chui Ziyue shook her head like a tambourine and said. No more, no more. Su Tong glanced at his bank card and calmly said. Okay, then I'll also take 2 sets of clothes. Su Tong felt that having over 1 million yuan in his pocket, buying 2 sets of clothes to reward himself was not excessive, was it? Amidst the envious gaze of the salesperson, the two of them walked out of the Louis Vuitton store carrying their belongings. When standing outside and wanting to take a taxi, Su Tong looked at Cui Ziyue and said, "Where do you live?" Cui Ziyue shook her head and said, "I took the high-speed train this morning and haven't booked a hotel yet." Su Tong nodded and said, "Okay, then come with me." Where are we going?" Jinqiu Jiaqing Hotel. Cui Ziyue was a bit confused, not mentally prepared for losing herself for the first time now. Su Tong glanced at her hesitant expression and immediately understood. "I'll open another room for you, not for you to live with me." After hearing these words, Cui Ziyue silently nodded and said, "No, I didn't mean that, I just..." Su Tong pulled her wrist and said, "I know what you're thinking." The two took a taxi to the best 5-star hotel in Jiaqing City. Jinqiu Jiaqing Hotel. I opened 2 adjacent executive suites. Although it was over 3,000 yuan per night, it was not too expensive, and I opened a room for her, which can be considered as Su Tong not spending any money. The waiter followed behind the two of them, helping to carry the clothes they had bought. Cui Ziyue intimacy +10 on the way to the room. Cui Ziyue secretly looked at Su Tong, feeling a little sweet in her heart. Cui Ziyue lay on the big bed, her heart filled with joy, thinking she was going to be sad about being deceived by a scumbag. Unexpectedly, there was no such feeling at all, and the whole person was particularly relaxed. Perhaps that statement is correct. I never forget my ex. It can only indicate that the current life is not good enough. Ding dong. Reminder of messages ringing on the phone. Su Tong. I will have my clothes hand washed by the hotel later, and I have washed a piece of yours as well. At that moment, the hotel staff also came over. Holding a laundry bag in his hand, he asked, "Hello, madam. The gentleman next door said that your clothes also need to be washed. Please give us your clothes." Cui Ziyue nodded and pointed to several packaging boxes next to her, saying, "Could you please help wash these clothes?"